encourages input from residents. It may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. The meeting link will be opened 15 to 30 minutes before the start of the meeting. Those wishing to speak during the virtual meeting are encouraged to register prior to the start of the meeting. You may also register your comment by sending an email to Chief Tony at truesga@crossplainspolicewi.com ahead of the meeting.
Okay, nobody has registered a comment. We do have 3 people on. I mean, I could ask if anybody wants to make a comment. If anybody wants to make a comment at this time, go ahead and unmute yourselves. Diane, we have you on the agenda. No comment.
Okay. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the January 5th Public Safety meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say. Report of the Public Safety Commission officers. So the taser and less than lethal did pass at the board. Yeah, it was long discussion. We're going to move on to body cams. That'll be in this meeting, and we'll present that a little differently, hopefully, to make everybody feel a bit more comfortable. So otherwise, I was really happy that passed.
Here, here. Yep. Nice work.
Yeah, good on all of ours. I think it was,
Yeah.
I was really happy that we got it brought up so early in the year too. So members have anything? Doug?
I'll pass this out. It's just a status update. There's no action to be taken or agenda item regarding the ATV, UTV ordinance. You all can read, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. It was adopted and noticed on June 4th. In 7+ months of the ordinance being approved, there hasn't been one citation issued to an ATV, UTV operator. I want to thank the Village Board and Public Safety Committee for the opportunity to implement that ordinance. There have been 6 complaints/issues called in, mostly related to details and questions around the ordinance, helmet use, speed limit, hours, etc. Those were all in the first 2 months of the ordinance passing. There haven't been any complaints in the last 4 months. A couple of things we pledged to do. One was to operate safely on village roads. I sincerely believe we've done that, exceeded expectations. We also offered to pay for the Village of Cross Plains posts and signs, which we did immediately. We also partnered with the Village of Mazo and Village of Black Earth, who had ordinances passed but didn't have their signs up, so we paid for their signs and posts as well. Committed to being a partner with businesses and the community. I think we've exceeded that. We made a few significant monetary donations. We did a couple events as we could COVID safely. This updated focuses on the Village of Cross Plains, but there's a lot more going on in the state. Cities, counties, townships approving the ATV, UTV routes just to our north. 21 of 22 townships in Sauk County are now legal. Cities including Waupun, Toma, the Dells, Green and Portage County. We're hopeful to continue to have a few connections. Kind of the last part, I'm not sure everyone kind of understands how ATVs and snowmobiles work, but it's a tourism economic driver really placed on the backs of volunteers throughout the state. And I'm appreciative of the efforts of our clubs locally. We've had a blessing with some snow and I've been able to get out and about. And, businesses are happy and businesses are struggling right now. So that's just a check-in. I think we're doing a responsible job as a club and as ATV users.
Have you had elderly people contact for driveway plowing?
2, yes.
Great.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Good deal. That offer still exists?
That offer exists, yeah. I'm trying to get a person or two to be my backup. So right now it's Jonah, my son. So he's hoping for not a big snowfall this weekend. What we want to do is we want to be a partner, but we also understand that that's also some people's livelihood.
Yeah.
We don't want to go over the top with marketing it.
Uh-huh.
The one gentleman is chomping at the bit to pay us. I'm like, you can do a donation, but let's just wait till the end of the year.
Sure.
So I think it's going well, and you usually don't get any stink eye or any issue when you got your shovel and your light going, and you're running around the village. So that's part of a program. We've offered to do the parking lot up by Raspberry, and if there's another need in the village, we'd be happy to partner.
Okay.
Awesome. What's that next checkpoint on that again from
Village board?
village board? What was that date?
The village board was 1 year, so the ordinance was approved June 4th, so I believe it will be on shortly after the election.
All right.
Anyone
Okay.
else have anything? Okay. We will move on to report of first responders. EMS chief on?
She is not on, but she did send someone in her place, and I'm asking Diane to unmute. Okay.
Hi, Tony. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you great.
Okay. Erica had sent me her chief's report in reference to the COVID vaccine. So far, 90% of our members have received the vaccine. The first dose, most members have had little to no side effects. Most reported side effects, if they did have one, was an arm pain at the injection site. Some members reported a slight headache and fatigue, but most symptoms resolved within 24 hours. The second dose, more members had reported side effects after the second dose, which I believe is common. And some of these side effects were stronger than the first dose. The side effects included arm pain, fatigue, headache, swollen lymph nodes in the armpit on the site of injection, and fever. These symptoms were controlled with Tylenol or ibuprofen taken, but it usually took between 1 to 5 days for the symptoms to alleviate. No members had to miss shifts or work due to the second dose. All COVID protocols are still in place regardless of the vaccine status. And hiring process, we held a hiring process last month due to a staff departure and would like to announce the hiring of Ted Miller to Cross Plains Area EMS. Ted comes to us from Oregon Fire and EMS, where he worked part-time after completing his internship there. Ted's already familiar with the MEP protocols, which we will be following, and we think he will make a great addition to our service. Out of the hiring process, we're also able to bring on 2 additional applicants as LTEs, and have on board 2 volunteers as well. All new members are getting some ride time in as trainees, and hopefully they will be signed off shortly so we can get them going. That's about all we have.
Hey, thanks, Diane.
Thank
Sure.
you.
The next one.
Fire chief.
Fire chief, I don't think, I did send them an invite and I didn't receive anything back, so I have no report. And I don't believe anybody's on regarding the fire department.
All right. And we have Chief Tony.
Okay, so my report, dividing it up in 3 sections. The department, you're gonna see a new door that's much needed. I don't know if you guys have noticed our door, but that's been that way for decades. I was able to fit it in my budget and get a new door ordered, so you'll see a nice new door.
Did you write a door policy?
No, I didn't write a door policy. But the colors are gonna be the same colors that we have, which is black and gold. So it'll be a black door with gold writing. I did also, was able to work in my budget. This is last year's budget, the garage doors. They need work as well, but we don't have the money to fix the doors, but I was able to put new kind of weather stripping at the bottom because we were actually getting snow coming into the building, into the squad cars, and creating a really slippery situation. So when you get in the squad, my fear was that when they run in there to get going, someone's gonna take a fall. So what I'm finding is a lot of our equipment is outdated. So in the coming years, as I've just been kind of purchasing things and we'll get up to speed. It's just going to take a little bit. There's only so much money in the pot. So I'm being really cautious in how we're spending that. Staff wise, so all of our officers are either already had their first vaccine. I think some have even moved on to their second vaccine. And I think I only have one officer that still has to get the vaccine, but I think that officer's already signed up for the vaccine. As far as cases go, right now we had a busy December/January. Right now we have 4 major investigations that we're working on. 2 are frauds. One of them is a $50,000 fraud. We're up to like 10 subpoenas for records. We had a child enticement case, which required a search warrant into a home. And then we also had a burglary. So those are the 4 main cases. We have suspects on everybody. So on every one of those calls. So all those matters have been resolved. We also had just a little bit of we had some child abuse, a couple domestics, and we had an OWI arrest with meth, and all those have been taken care of and moved on to the next phase of court. So we've solved all the cases. We're working through them, but we've been really, really busy with cases as of late. As part of that, I've just been really working on officer wellness because it's like, dealing with COVID and dealing with all these issues and just the tension of policing. I've really been kind of keeping an eye on my officers, mental wellness and health. And so I spent a lot of time talking to them and making sure they're okay. Unlike most people, we have to go to the call and we got to go there, whether they've got COVID and we may not know. And the biggest fear is to bring it home, because now you're going home and you've got kids and loved ones. And so it's that constant battle. So I'm trying to do some creative things to keep them encouraged. And I've developed a wall in the hallway that basically gives them an attaboy if they've done something. Just little things to kind of encourage them as we get through this pandemic and just some of the rhetoric that we're dealing with. So as far as me, I'm working. I wanted to have the annual report for you this month, but the numbers are still not completely in as far as our budget. Bills are still being paid, so I don't want to give you a half of a report. So I'm hoping that March I would be able to do that, and so hopefully in March every March you'll get a report, an annual report of everything we've done, the budget numbers, where we sit, policies and stuff that we're working on, and then futuristic stuff. So past, present, future kind of report. So I'm working on that. The other things that were approved during our budget are the squad and the server. Our server is very dated, and it holds a lot of important information with regards to squad cameras and video. So that was all approved through the capital improvement. And so we'll be getting a new squad car to replace our squad 13, which is 8 years old. That's pretty old for a squad. And it's starting to show its age. We actually went over budget on maintenance, just trying to keep it afloat. So we'll be getting a new squad, and then the server should be coming in here in March or April. The other major thing that I'm working on is all of our department policies. Some of them are as old as 10 years old and require updating. Some are 5 years old, but I'm working with, I've signed a contract with Lexipol. The League of Municipalities actually pays for, I think it's like 65% of it if you sign up with them, because that company vets everything through attorneys. So, our insurance carrier wants you to use them, and so they pay for a big portion of it. Our cost will come to like $1,500 a year. Lexipol, what they do is they look at all the policies. They give us the policies that are mandated by state law. For instance, the use of force policy. That's mandated by state law. There's all kinds of federal regulations attached to use of force. For instance, if I hadn't updated our use of force policy to fit the criteria of use of force nationwide, I would not be eligible as a department to get any federal grants. So basically, President Trump signed that into office and into law, and while he was in office, and so I had to do that. So our use of force policy has gone through multiple tiers just to make sure that it's in compliance, and it's been all the way approved all the way to the Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice. So it's the top-notch policy that we could possibly have. So that's the stuff that I've been working on throughout the month. Like I said, I really hope to have a annual report for you and do that every year. So that's about all that I have. We can move on.
Wow. All right. Next are committee discussions. We're going to start working on the presentation of the body camera program.
So yes, I'm pleased to announce that the taser and less than lethal did get passed. We vetted it, like we worked on it for, I think it was 3 months. The policy, we tweaked it a little bit during the village board meeting, but not enough to require it to come back here. There was a few words that required some tweaking, and there was a double negative in one of the policies. So it said you can't, so it was one of those things you just don't catch, but it actually changed the whole dynamics of that portion of the policy. So I've updated that. So we're good to go in that process. The body cams, I think, are just going to require a little more work, not only policy. I did prepare a policy, and you do have that to take with you. What I'm hearing is that we should probably be considering doing maybe a couple public forums, just getting it out, letting people think about it. Definitely not rush this policy through, not rush this program through. There's a couple topics that are important that we cover. One, in using those 5 topics that we were directed to do for these other policies, like, what's the initial cost? What's it going to keep costing us? How important is this? And those kind of things. We'll still have to vet those things, but honestly, I think the 2 top things that we have to address is one, the cost, to make sure that the initial cost is going to be something, but the ongoing cost of retaining those records, because it's required. I plan on having our tech come down and give us a little presentation while we're going through this, to tell us what that cost is going to look like for us. Then the other topic will be expectation of privacy. It's already covered in the policy. If somebody asks us to shut it off, then we would normally shut it off unless it is capturing evidence of a crime. I mean, then there's some exceptions, obviously. So I think we need to vet this not only through this committee, but before we present it to the village board, I think we should run it through the public and make sure that they understand what was being asked or what this is going to do for their privacy. And then maybe instead of trying to get it on this budget that's already in place and it doesn't have a whole lot of wiggle room, maybe create it so it's part of our next budget cycle.
That's exactly what I was thinking. We take these months to work on this, have the public hearings, and then be prepared for budget time, because it'll obviously be a big expense.
Yeah, I think, if we could have a completed product by August, and then, and maybe have, like, in the summer months, a couple forums. So work on the policy these next couple months, those kind of bring back ideas and work through it. I think it'll be a much better product presented to the board as part of our budget, the police budget. And we'll see where that goes. That's my thought.
Is there a law for how long you keep the?
I believe it's 7 years. 7
A
years.
lot of the businesses, you know,
Yep.
just don't hardly
Yeah.
keep it unless there's an incident.
7 years of if there's an incident.
Okay.
So the policy would cover, okay, if you don't need it, then it's not needed to be kept.
What determines it?
If it's an incident, so for instance, if we made an arrest.
Okay.
If there's any potential for civil liability, if somebody were to, let's say we use use of force and there's an inclination that there might be a lawsuit, we'd have to hang on to that stuff.
So
It's
you're not
evidence
talking
for
about
that.
retaining reams and reams of
No.
24 hours?
No, not like the normal, I mean, we already have that kind of policy in place with squad cars, so it'd be very similar to that. I don't think the retention is such the problem. It's, now you've got multiple officers recording, and so what does that look like? The department that I came from, we all had body cams, we all used them. There was 5 of us full-time, so 1 less than here, but there was 10 of us total. And it wasn't a big cost. So once we filled a hard drive, we would install a new hard drive and just keep the hard drive. And that's how we kept it. Hard drives weren't very expensive, but I don't know how that will play into our budget and the server. So the servers, that's why I wanted to update the server. If we ever thought about getting anything like this, we need to have a server.
Sure. Right.
The other thing is you want to have your body cams and your squad cams work together, not against each other. So there's going to need to be some research there. So, and I've already done most of it, but I think I don't want to just slam it on the village, the people of the village or this committee, because it's just a lot to take in. So, and we're going to have changes because Lori is not running. So there's going to be a new person here. So I think just to give some opportunity there. Hopefully Lori stays on, and that's the hope. But there's going to be some change on the board for sure. So that's my thought. So I don't know. Anybody else have an opinion?
I think you addressed at least one of my questions because you teed it up with dash cams on the squads.
Mm-hmm.
That, in my opinion, from a general public standpoint, you have to marry those together as part of a conversation.
Yeah.
Recorded evidence is not new.
Mm-hmm.
It's new as it relates to being a body camera, but there has been a video
Mm-hmm.
surveillance or, recordings that have been going on for years. So this is like the next evolution or another mechanism for
Mhm.
recording, and you're trying to build on top of that existing platform now on the body cams. And I think from a public standpoint, it's not like, oh, you're finally recording us or for the first time. No, incidents have been recorded.
Yeah. Well, and we rely on video surveillance and video evidence for everything. Just that arrest of the methamphetamine arrest, that was all captured on video. It was just at a business. So, I mean, everybody has Ring cameras on the doors. And so the recording is normal. Everybody has high-tech cameras right on their phones. So it's just a tool for us to have. But being that we're government, I think we need to make sure that we are I like the word transparent. So being transparent, what we're doing, how we're doing it. I have no intention on hiding those cameras or putting them anywhere. They're going to be smack dab right in the center of of our officers' chests. It's going to be right there for everybody to see. That's the best vantage point anyway. If you really truly want to get a body cam. I believe in the body cams for a couple reasons. One is to eliminate any kind of frivolous complaints. That's usually what happens with those body cams if we have a frivolous complaint. However, they also identify if we have problems. And I think that that's very important too, that if I do have staff that are having some type of issues, I can capture it and try to train on it and correct it. So for those two reasons, to eliminate any frivolous complaints, but then also to train my staff because they may not be doing things that are quite the right way based on policy. And so our policy book is pretty thick. And so to keep everything in your brain of every single policy up to date in your head, it's hard. So that's why, that's the other thing with Lexipol, they send out daily refreshers on policy. So officers are reading policy every shift, every day, so that they're constantly training. So I just think it's going to be a big task, and so it's going to be a lot bigger than what we did with.
The other
less than lethal.
suggestion, I think, is that with the public hearings, that we probably should have one in September. And the reason is that if we do those in the summertime, I have a feeling this summer, everybody's just gonna go outside or go out of town. I don't think there'll be a lot of people around. It might just be in best interest when their kids are back in school and people are around, that we have a public hearing that is accessible to everybody to garner the input.
Yeah, and I think, it's probably going to be good to do maybe one in the morning or earlier in the day, and then one in the evening, so we can capture people that couldn't make it because of work or whatever. But yeah, that's a good idea. I know that when I spoke to Jay about it, he thought trying to get it done in the summer, just because he's starting the process of budget a lot earlier. It usually this year or last year, it started in late August, early September, where there was already talk about it. So, but it doesn't mean we can't have a meeting. It's not like the budget goes all the way to November before it gets passed. So we have plenty of time. So I agree. Whatever works.
And just to clarify, are you holding off on the server network type conversation? Are you gonna roll that into that budget cycle as well?
No,
or
that's already been budgeted and
Okay.
approved. That was, I took care of that before, because we were dated on arbitrator. There hadn't been an update in a while. And I feared that the video that we have for our squad cars, if something were to happen to them, we're responsible for it. So when I got the job and started looking at just our processes, and that was one of the first things I identified. So, and I knew it was a big ticket item. It's over $10,000 to get that updated. So I put it in the capital improvement to get it accomplished. And so I've got it all lined up. They just have to order.
These enhancements then are gonna take into account any potential need that
Yeah.
might come through with body cameras.
Yeah.
You're trying to anticipate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna just quickly, the next two items aren't very long, but if we do get disconnected, it just gave me a warning that we have 10 minutes. So I don't want to rush anything, but if we do, it says we have 9 minutes and 35 seconds. If that happens, then we'll have to reconnect and pause for a little bit. All right, that's all I have to report on that topic.
We'll move on to our discussion. On the patches.
Okay, so the patches are about 25 years old. It sounds like the history of it is the Chief Doug
Chief Clemens.
Clemens, Chief Doug Clemens, created the patches back 25 better years back.
Yeah.
He put a star in the middle of our patches. He was by what I hear, I don't know
He
him.
was a Stockholm sheriff.
He really loved the sheriff's department thing. Our badges, our sheriff's department badges, that was the first thing I noticed when we got here. Traditionally, police officers wear shields. I approached Jay on that topic, and I actually donated my clothing allowance to buy the officers new shields. So they're the same. It says the exact same thing, except for they're in a round circle rather than a star. They all agreed that, that no one ever brought it up. It was just kind of, that's our badge. It is. This patch, because of the patch having the star, obviously that kind of contradicts a little bit, and I thought it was time for a fresh start. So the other topic of it is we celebrated our 100th year as a village, and because of COVID, there was no 100-year real celebration. And again, in working with the wellness of my department and the fact that I have an officer that has donated or given up 32 years of his life for this village, I gave him the project. I said I would like for him to leave the legacy of his time here. So he came up with this design. It's very unique. It covers, I mean, I wanted to make sure, I made sure it wasn't offensive to anybody or didn't have anything that would create that. He's taken months and months to work on this and make it his own. I think he came out with I mean, it's a matter of opinion, right? It's a picture. So the staff love it. There's a couple of things with some colors that they want, less green, but it's basically covering our creek and covering the mountains. It's just the Wisconsin logo, obviously, because we're in Wisconsin, and then the star where we're located. So it's pretty plain of a patch. It's not anything, I've seen patches that are very, they're very full, the patch is very full. This is not. I've talked to Jay, I've talked to a couple members. There's been some talk about why aren't we adopting the village logo and putting that in the middle of it? It's just like anything. You want your own identity. The fire department has their own patch. The EMS has their own patch. I would couple it to the military. So they all work under one branch, but they have their own identity. And so that's why the patch should be your own identity. So I'm going to vet it through this committee. I hope you support it. And then I'm going to vet it through village board because it'll be something that the public will see and they should have an opportunity to voice their opinion. I used to work on this project. I used our local, somebody who already helps us design things for the village. But I used my budget. It was in my budget from last year. I had enough money in the budget to work on this. So it's not taking up any money that way. Once we create them, then yeah, I'll have to use it, but it's in my budget. I have it. It's not to make 500 of these. It's $655. So it's not a very expensive project at all. So
Okay, so I think we need a motion then.
yeah,
Motion to accept the new patch design, is that? I'll make that motion.
A second.
I'll give just a little discussion. Number one, I appreciate the process. Number two, I think sometimes our village gets way into details they shouldn't at the board level. And I think the police staff bringing the design and vetting it themselves is very, very important. In addition, on the patch piece, I think when you do the body cam talk, I think it might be a good opportunity to have maybe a Parks and Rec, one topic, Public Works, one topic, something else, because our people only seem to get together when they're against something or they come to a meeting when they're upset. It would be good to have some kind of forum where village can come in and talk about things that work, things they want to improve, things that are good. So I think it was a good process and came out with a good product.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great that it's born from within.
Yeah.
mhm,
And that's what's most important. And I agree on kind of the patch approach and not adopting the village logo. That doesn't need to be seen all the way through. And I think it captures the highlights of that anyhow,
mhm,
which is our stream and the bluffs.
mhm.
So it captures that, but it's your own and it should be.
Thank you. I just, Scott is our 30-year vet and, he any day now he could turn in his resignation and move on because he's earned that. He's told me he doesn't plan on that, but if he does, I'd like for him to leave something behind that we can 30 years from now when someone else is redoing a patch, they can say, well, this is how that was born. So, the staff had very little input on it. They liked it after it was done, but Scott pretty much took care of it. So it's nice. Okay, so we had a first, but Doug, did you second?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all in favor,
Aye.
all opposed, same.
Okay.
Passed.
The last I'm sorry, go ahead. I got ahead of you.
Discussion and possible action regarding new squad car graphics.
Okay, so the squad cars those are, yeah, we've got 2 minutes. This one should be quick. So the squad graphics are old. I talked to Tom about that. He got them when he started here. So he did the same thing, fresh new start. The only reason I brought these to you, I spoke to Jay about this, and Jay thought that I didn't even need to bring this because it says police and it says Cross Plains. The only reason I brought it here, and then these are the 3 that I've chosen that I could live with as the chief, and I'm gonna let the staff decide from these 3. It's not these colors. The colors it's gonna stay the same, gold and black. But the only reason I brought it here is because the patch is gonna go on the door. And so I felt like if you approve the patch, then you should approve us picking one of these, I guess. So that's basically it.
So you need a motion to allow your staff to
Pick. Pick one of these 3 graphics.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same?
That's it. We got a minute left. Any future agenda items? Otherwise, I will be putting the body cams back on
Yep.
every month. And I'll be bringing updates, and you guys can bring updates and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Anyone
I
else?
don't either. I would encourage Chair Leader Sandra to stay on the committee after she does her own.
Yep,
Yes.
that'll be my recommendation to Jay.
Yeah, I would like to stay on, so.
Whether you'd like to or not. Is that
Yeah, they're hostage. Yeah.
You need a motion?
Yeah. So next meeting is March 2nd. I think that it lands on the same day. It's just a month ahead, and
All right,
motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Great.
All right, we are adjourned.
This was a quick one.
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah, I think, I looked at all 3 of those styles, you kind of